Now see if I turn that up. Now you can hear me. We're back in studio with IMPD Chief Chris Bailey, who's been in the job now going on 2 years. Chief, how would you describe the adventure so far?
You say 2 years. I say 75 years.
That's what it feels like?
Yes, some days it feels that way. No, it's been an honor. I mean, anybody that gets an opportunity to sit in this seat, being a career-long employee of this police department is like I said, it's an honor, and I'm grateful every single day to have the opportunity. Now, there are days I second guess my decision. Absolutely, there are, but I think everybody feels that way in their job at some point. But we've done a lot of good things. We have a lot of work left to do. My goal is to set this department on a trajectory of excellence for the foreseeable future, and correct things and fix things that have been stagnant for 30 to 40 years in this agency. I'm not going to get to it all in my tenure, but we're going to give it all we have for the time we have left, and leave it better for the next persons and people to take our seats, and they'll take it to the next level.
One of the things that you have to do, which I'm sure this is probably a time where it's like you got to rack your brain, figure out what you're going to do because your decisions impact people, and that's with this budget. The mayor this week proposed his budget for the city. $358 million of that goes to IMPD. From what I understand, that is not a budget cut from last year, despite cities and municipalities across the state having to deal with the impact of Senate Bill 1, which cut everybody's funding. But Mayor Hogshead has figured out a way to where your department is not getting cuts, although apparently a lot of other departments are. But of course, the two big ones, DPW not seeing any cuts because everybody is hot about those potholes. But then the police department, for all the reasons that we've talked about, and where we left off before the break was you talking about the other things that you guys still now have to do. It's not just about arresting people. So with this $358 million budget, what happens next? I want you to explain how it works. Does the mayor come to you before he says, "Hey, I'm going to propose this budget. Here's what I'm thinking"? Or do you not find out what that budget is until after he gives it to the council, and then they say, "Okay, now you explain what you're going to do with it"? How's that work?
Yeah, so every year the budget process, at least internally, starts anywhere between April and May, where we start having internal discussions with the Office of Financial Management and the mayor's office about what it looks like going forward, what the financial revenue and forecasts look like, and then what at some point we get budget instructions. So the instructions this year were the mayor's priority was to fund the labor agreements. So the FOP in the city entered into a labor agreement last year. IFD and the firefighter union entered into a labor agreement. The sheriff's department and their union, and the Department of Public Works and their union. And so every single major agency in the enterprise has to fund those labor agreements. When those are agreed upon, then those have to be funded. So the mayor's office was clear that that's his number one priority, is funding those labor agreements. And so Senate Bill 1 passed after those labor agreements were done. There were some changes in the state pension system that increased the pension contributions for a lot of the public safety agencies. Fire and police. Fire's budget is also going up. So a lot of those things came in after those labor agreements were settled on. And so the instructions were every agency has to set aside, not cut, but set aside 4% of their budget for 2026, and growth within public safety agencies could not exceed 2% outside of the labor agreements. So we didn't ask for anything new in any of the characters. The only thing that went up in our budget are mostly things that are beyond my control, like the labor agreement. That was, and you remember, you're funding 2 years of salary, 25 and 26 salary increases, and you're dumping it all into that 1 year. Because my current budget, I'm funding a 2025 pay raise based on what was allocated to me in 2024. There hasn't been new money dropped in my budget in 2025 yet. That may occur with a fiscal at the end of the year. And so, it didn't stop us from making budget requests in that process I told you about leading up to version 1 of the budget and then introduction. I made very few. I limited them. I wanted to make sure that we continued to purchase police cars.
Mhm.
It's essential for the job that we do.
Mhm.
And really, that was our only major request. And that one didn't make it in this budget. I'm not finished talking about that with the council, but that didn't make it in there. But
Mhm.
so all the increases you see are pay increases,
Mhm.
contractual increases, 6 to 7%, I believe, increase in insurance costs.
Okay.
And then when you have a pay raise, there's increases in pension costs.
Mhm.
So all that's built into almost every single dime that's increased in our budget is because of the labor agreement. I mean, that's the bottom line. We saw some reductions in the costs we pay to Department of Public Works, for oil changes and fuel,
Mhm.
and then we saw a small increase in the amount of money we pay to the Information Services Agency, which controls all our computer systems. Cybersecurity; those things are important. So beyond that, there's no new bells and whistles in our budget. It's only the money allocated to pay salaries.
Um, Sounds like the cars is going to be a thing that you're
Yeah,
going
I
to keep
mean,
talking about.
the preview it for my friends in the council. We'll be talking about it at my committee hearing.
Mhm. Is that uh, random question? How many police cars does IMPD have?
We have a lot of police cars, probably around with the spares we have to keep inside.
Mhm.
Out 1,800 cars probably.
Okay.
And so the mayor's office has done a really good job. They asked us for a plan. We gave them a plan in 2020 to have a 6-year rotation of our cars, and we did it through financing and not buying them outright,
Mhm.
which allowed us to almost completely flip our fleet. We were driving cars that were 10, 12, 15 years old. You
Mhm.
can't do that.
Mhm.
If you don't have reliable transportation to get you from A to B, you don't serve the community right.
Right.
It's the officer's office.
Right.
We're competing for talent and retaining talent. We have to make sure we're providing them the best equipment
Mhm.
that we have to compete with agencies in Hamilton, Hendricks
Mhm.
County, and Johnson County to make sure that we're getting the best and brightest here in our community. So it's not a luxury; it's a
Mhm.
necessity.
Mhm.
And we have to, if we want to not create a gap where 2 years from now I have to ask for 400 cars
Mhm.
instead of asking for 160 this year because we skipped a year.
Mhm.
And it's going to cost more down the road.
Yep.
We have to continue that replacement cost as we move along.
I
And we have a
manage a
great
f-
plan.
I manage a fleet of school buses, so
Yeah,
I get the importance of one having spare vehicles.
yeah.
Because they'll say, "Well, you've got this many officers, but why do you have more cars?" Because
Hmm.
they break down.
They crash.
Yes,
Right,
all kinds of things
right.
happen. And then, of course, that is a huge selling point. That's where the officer spends a large part of their day is in that vehicle.
Yeah,
And if it's not reliable, or if it's simply just not nice, but Carmel says, "Hey, we got brand new cars
yeah.
here."
That's right. Plainfield driving around Tahoes. I mean, you're making a choice between your office. You want to
Mm-hmm.
spend it in a car that has a hole in the floorboard, which we've had those before
Mm-hmm.
in the past 7-8 years, where
Mm-hmm.
there's literal holes
Mm-hmm.
in the floorboards of some of the Crown Victorias that we drove for some of them 12, 15 years old.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We can't do that. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not a luxury. I didn't ask for special gadgets or
Mm-hmm.
things for our cops. I'm looking for the necessities.
So, no budget increase for technology, as I understand as well,
Mhm.
right?
Just maintaining what we have at the moment. Any changes, the instructions I was given, like you can add things, like
Mm-hmm.
you can buy new technology, you can do those things, but you'd have to find someplace else to cut.
Mm-hmm.
So within that character, if there's something new you want to do, then what don't you need to do, or what can you do without
Mm-hmm.
in order to shift that money along? So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something we're going to have to look at. I mean, because everything costs more. What we pay in 25 is going to be different when we pay in 26. Inflation, built-in contractual increases for, ALPRs or body-worn cameras. We have to renegotiate a body-worn camera
Mm-hmm.
contract. It's up at the end of the year. So what does that cost look like?
Mm-hmm.
That next 5-year cost, the company's going to, the companies are in business to make profit. And so that could cost more. So do we need to look at how many cameras we currently pay for, and do we need that many, and then cut it back in order to absorb that cost? So those are all things as we move forward. While we may not have seen a physical cut in the budget,
Mm-hmm.
when your growth is capped at 2%, but inflation's 5%, there is a natural reduction in your budget, and we're
Mm-hmm.
going to have to figure out what how to pay all of our bills next year. We'll do it. We'll figure it out. But there may be things we have to draw back on or reduce in order to do that.
You talked earlier about the other things that you guys are also tasked with doing. You're getting more calls for mental health, and even that story. I'm thinking in that story that you told about the kids who were sleeping at the transit center at 3 a.m. How are there different resources? That seems like, I mean, because you're getting into like a mental health. And I know we have the MCAT cars and those different things. Explain some of those other non-traditional things that you're having to use now.
Yeah. So we have the mayor has invested over the last few years in the clinician-led response team. It's all non-sworn civilian outside of our agency response. They're 24 hours a day. They're currently in 3 districts. This budget is going to allow them to expand to a 4th of our 6 districts. So we're getting closer where we have some civilian response to low-level issues related to mental health or check welfare type of runs and things like that. So that's a positive step forward. I think that program's somewhere around $4 million. And so the mayor's commitment is to continuing to invest in those type of things so that we take that work off of our officers. It's not something they were trained to do or the initial inception of officers to deal with some of those issues. But we are, other than the fire department and IEMS, the only 24-hour, 7-day-a-week government agency. And so you're going to get tasked with things that you don't necessarily want your cops doing. So the mayor's commitment is to increasing that effort. Now we have the mobile crisis assistance team. That's our MCAT that pairs an officer with a Eskenazi clinician, and they do respond to live runs of people in mental health crisis and follow up on our emergency detention. So we take someone into custody for some mental health issue that they're doing. They follow up, try to make sure they get services. And then one of our more unsung units is our homeless outreach unit that's been around for a long time that I don't think anybody knows about. Even before some of this conversation, we started talking about Streets of Home. Our cops were out interacting with these folks in the camps all the time, helping our community-based organizations like CHIP and others get into these camps and try to help people. And so those are 3 non-traditional law enforcement things that we're engaged with and that are budgeted in this budget. There are other cities that are going to struggle a lot more with Senate Bill 1 than Indianapolis is going to struggle with it. And the reason it's a struggle for us and it's disappointment that our growth isn't going to be where it's at, but we still see some growth. The reason why we're in the financial position that we're in, I don't think that he gets enough credit for it, is this is the mayor's 9th balanced budget with no tax increases. So we've been living within our means for a long time. And when you do that, you have fund balances, you have savings that allow you to continue operations in a way that the community doesn't feel it because of tax revenue going down, because there's fund balances. The departments are spending their money in an appropriate way. And so I think that needs to be celebrated a little bit more. I'm not saying that because he's my boss. I mean, but that's the truth of it. It could have been much worse for us. The city telling us they started this budget process $43 million in the hole. And some of the reductions that you see in some of the agencies aren't as dramatic as they could have been if not for the financial responsibility that the city has shown over the last 9 years.
Well, one of the things you also have to balance is the hiring. You're trying to attract new officers to come in. I know that there are agencies around Indianapolis that have a higher wage and a higher starting salary because you also have officers retiring and probably officers who transfer, other departments and things like that. So how do you combat that? Because I believe you're still short officers.
Yeah, we're
about 200.
300. Over 300 officers from our budget strength at 1743, and even 1743 isn't enough to police this county. But we're not going to get to that point anytime soon. So talking about more than that is just not something we need to talk to. So you take a city like Boston. People think of Boston, they think, oh man, there must be millions of people who live there. No, there are only 600,000 people who live in Boston. About 85 square miles, and they have 2,000 cops. So I mean, and also more officers allow us to do more things like MCAT,
Mm-hmm.
more than just during the day shift. It
Mm-hmm.
allows us to put people in homeless outreach. It
Mm-hmm.
allows us to put more people in PAL Club and community engagement,
Mm-hmm.
more people in homicide and cold case. Those things and one thing that it's cyber crimes. Like, we do not do enough work in cyber crimes, and that is the future.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things we're going to have to look at is, as even if there are shifting personnel downward,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have to see what we stop doing in a traditional law enforcement sense and focus on some of this futuristic stuff that I don't know municipal police departments are paying much attention to. Everything in our life is on these.
Yes.
Right. And so what technology skills do we have? What equipment do we have to help solve these crimes that are being committed in the cyber way? So we have a brand new website for recruiting, joinimpd.indy.gov.
Let's pull it up.
Joinimpd.indy.gov. It's been completely retooled. We have a program called Interview Now that is a communications tool for our recruiters to stay engaged with our applicants, potential applicants from 18 years on up, via text message and other things, communicating like the kids do. We have one of the highest starting salaries in the Midwest, and with this labor agreement that I just talked about, we have some highly paid police officers with
What was that
one of the
website
top end. joinimpd.indy.gov.
We'll show everybody. There it is. As you were, continue.
And so that's why we have to invest in things like I said about cars and equipment, providing the best tools and resources that are available in order for them to do their job in the appropriate way and compete with agencies like Carmel, who are always probably going to outpace us in salary and equipment. But the amount of opportunities we have in this department are unmatched of anybody else in the state. You can ride a horse. You can do, digital investigations. You can ride a bicycle. You can ride a motorcycle. You can respond to 911 calls. You can be a homicide detective. We can put you in the crime guns task force. There's so many opportunities that you have here, and this is a great city to live in, despite what people say. This is where I've lived my entire life. I've been all around the country. There's not a place I'd rather be than Indianapolis, Indiana. And I would put our police department up against anyone in the country. And there's no doubt, no offense to anybody around the state, this is the best police department in the state of Indiana. And I put it near the top of agencies of any major city in the country too. So
this is a good website.
Yeah, that's some of you're looking at some of our three of our recruiters right there. They're out everywhere all the time. We're just recently at the Colts camp talking to people in and out of there. There'll be at some Fever games. They're at colleges and universities. We're creating a special training path for IU cadets. So IU has its own police academy. I don't know if anybody knows that, and they graduate a class every year, every August, and we're creating a special path for those individuals to leave that academy, come to the IMPD, not have to go through a traditional police academy, but on-the-job training to get you up to the way IMPD standards. And we're going to start you in at $72,000. By year 3, you're in the $90,000, and that doesn't include overtime. A take-home car if you live in Marion County. There's no charge to that. That's on and off duty. That's free fuel. All those things that I don't know about you. I don't know what I would have done $90,000 at 26 years old a year.
Right.
But if I could go back, I'd figure out a way to spend it.
So it looks like you got to be 21 years old, between 21 and 40 to start.
Yep.
Now, suppose I'm 50, but I work at the Plainfield Police Department. Can I come over?
Yeah, we would have to run you through a lateral process, and we'd have to check your physically, right? What we don't want to do is let you lateral over, and then you twist your ankle, and then we're on the hook for your pension, right? So, those are the type of things. But technically, as long as you don't leave the pension system, because it's the same pension system, whether you're here or in Plainfield or Carmel or anywhere in the state, we're in the same pension system. But our pension base is, I think, 4th highest in the state now, and it's going to continue to grow over the next 3 years, 2 years of this labor agreement. So this is the place to be, man.
$74,000.
Plus, I don't know about. Some people may disagree, but a lot of people are saying that they've got the best police chief.
Is that right?
A lot of people are saying it. If you want me to produce a list, I'm not going to be able to produce you a list. No, I'm just kidding. This place is way bigger than me or any one person. But I do know one person that says it a lot. That's Sergeant William Young.
He texts me that from time to time, just saying, I just love working for this guy.
He technically might be the only one, but if that's all I hear from, then everybody's saying it.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. That's right.
So I'm not wrong.
Correct.
Or misleading.
Those are alternative facts, sir.
That's right.
And if no one else,
that's
and
right.
if you don't like what people are saying, you just tell them to stop saying the bad things, and it's not happening.
That's right. That's true.
That's how it works. Hey, so before we get ready to go, as you're thinking about the budget and you've got a great, you say, hey, I've got a great police department. I want you to tell me something that when you're walking through the office, you're talking with officers, there's always that something like, I wish we could do this better.
Yeah.
What is that? I want you to tell me something that you're very proud of that you do, but also something that you're like, we could do this better, but it's going to take us some time. It's going to take me some time to figure it out, but it's something that bothers you. You see it, you go past it every day. You're like, we got to fix that.
The biggest one is just the morale issues, right? And a lot of that comes down to communication, and internal communication is and continues to be a struggle of ours, a large organization, getting down to the patrol line officer who are the backbone of our agency is really difficult. I want them to feel supported, and I want them to have the tools that they need to do their job. And so when I hear there are people that are really disgruntled and that they don't like the job, they don't like the department, that really bothers me, because that resonates, that hurts a lot of things, that hurts us to recruit, because our best recruiters are officers.
Correct.
Right? It's not just the recruiting unit's responsibility; it's a collective responsibility to recruit. And so I can't control everyone's feelings and emotions about the job. People either like their job or hate their job, and some of that changes throughout the day. But I want this to be a place people want to work. And when I know that I have employees that maybe may not feel that this is a great place to work, that does bother me, because I want it to be. I want it to be for them. I want them to be happy. I want them to be healthy. I don't want them to be coming to work angry or upset, because then that could translate how they treat the community too, how they treat their loved ones, their mental health, their physical health, all those things. So, but some of the things I think that we do really well is we advocate them, we tell their story. We want people to know that behind this badge is a human being. And I think our media relations office, our public information office really does a good job of trying to tell the positive stories that our officers are involved with every single day, that don't get the headlines, that don't get the clicks, but are just as meaningful as the bad things that happen. So, and I think we do a really good job of that. If I had to pick one thing out, and then I'd pick. There's so many things I can tell you how great this police department is. I mean, you look at our crime numbers. I mean, despite the challenges, despite the staffing issues, they're pushing it down, and that doesn't happen by accident. It's not all. The reason why crime goes up isn't all on the backs of police department, and the reason why they go down isn't all because of the efforts of the police department. But I wouldn't want to live in a community that didn't have a police department and men and women like that we have here on IMPD. I'm very proud of them.
A couple of years ago, 2025 to 2020, being a police officer is probably one of the least popular jobs that you could have in the country. Do you think that that has changed? Has it gotten better, worse, still the same?
We're dealing with the ramifications of that. I think really started before 2020, probably more in the Ferguson era, and then continually got a little bit better. And then you have George Floyd, and you have the pandemic, and you have all these things convergent at the same time. I think that's why we have staffing issues all across the country with law enforcement. It is slowly turning around. You can feel it. You can see it. Some of our colleagues in major cities are seeing record numbers of recruitment classes over the last 5 years. We had one of our largest classes start about a month and a half ago. This past week, we had good numbers, not where I want them to be. Good numbers turn out for testing, written test and physical testing. which is a positive sign. And there's recruitments up in the military. And when recruitment's up in the military, those people are going to come out of the military and they're going to look for similar jobs where you have that,
Duty.
chain of command, this duty, the camaraderie that goes along with being in that military. And those folks are going to be looking for a job. When that dipped, you saw ours dip, right? There's not many people coming out. So, I'm hopeful for the future. Am I going to get it fixed? It will probably be, if I had to guess, and we're going to keep working on it, one of the disappointments I'll have in my tenure as the chief of police, and just about the staffing, retention, and recruitment. Like, not all my fault, but I'll feel like that's something I could have done more to, and we still can. We're not done. I'm not done. I'm not leaving. But there's more time. But it still won't leave it the way I would like to leave it when that time comes.
Well, Chief, we are out of time. Thank you for your time talking about a number of things with us. I know that you're an accessible guy for people, and as are your officers and shift commanders. If people say, hey, how do I get in touch with IMPD or someone from my district? Or I want to talk to the chief. Where do they start with that?
Well, I mean, you can always, email me at impdchief@indy.gov. impdchief@indy.gov. I see my friend out of the corner of my eye rolling his eye because he has to be the one to answer those, but he'll be all right.
Well, William Young is earning his paycheck, so if you don't get a response.
Yeah, and you can always reach out to any of your districts at any time. Those commanders are very accessible, and all that information is available on our website at indy.gov/IMPD. All that information's on there as well. But make sure you check out joinimpd.indy.gov. joinimpd.indy.gov.
All right. IMPD Chief Chris Bailey, thanks for spending time with us. Greatly appreciate you, sir.
Yep.
That's going to do it for this edition of FOX59 Tonight. We'll have more conversations like this on the radio on my show Open Lines on 106.7 WTLC and Hot 100.9. That's it Sunday morning at 8 a.m. where you get to join the conversation. For now, have a good weekend.